I'm Jasmine, aka the Awakened Peacock, and this is my first recording for my first podcast, which is called Birds of a Feather. I wanted to give a little overview on who I am and what the podcast is all about, and give you a basic idea of what you can expect in future episodes. So, this recording will be both audio and video because this will also be getting uploaded to my YouTube channel, which is called Tie Dye Peacock Jasmine. So, there is a video piece that goes along with this, and if you ever want to check that out, you can find me on YouTube. So, my name is Jasmine. Like I said, I am a 37-year-old mom of three. I am a housewife, and I have been through a lot in just 37 years of life. And for anybody that does not know me, I have already been divorced once and remarried to my second husband now. I have had and lost my firstborn child at 5 years old to cancer. That was a year-long battle, and she passed away in 2013. So it's been a little while, almost 10 years. It's been I have three more living children, so I've had four children total. It's been a very long, hard life for such a short amount of time. I started my awakening journey last fall. I would say August was when it started. Last August, I had my Reiki level 1 attunement. And when I had that attunement, it started an awakening process within me that I didn't expect. I've always been very open to spirituality. I wouldn't say I was a spiritual person before, but I've definitely always been open to the idea of spirituality and very open-minded about it. I used to be a Christian before my up until like my early 20s, I was a Christian. I've also dealt with my own ego and my own flaws, and I've done some personal growth on finding why some of my bad habits and bad behaviors and things that I do that I don't think I should be doing, why I do them, and the root cause of them. And I've been dealing with the root causes and slowly whittling away at the parts of myself that I dislike and that society does not benefit from. I have gone back to past relationships that I have trauma and problems with, and if I've had done wrong to someone or had wrong done to me and have unresolved things that need to be said, I've gone back to all of those relationships and all those circumstances where I've had things that I should have said and I never did and that I regret not saying, and I've said them. I've learned that energy sits inside of you and eats away at you. And that's why I did all these things, because if I've got something as little as a fight I had 20 years ago on my mind was about somebody that just, I don't know why I never, resolved it or talked to them again, because it was such a little thing, but if it's still on my mind so many years later and I've never done anything about it, then that's going to sit in me and that's going to create negative energy over time. And that's going to turn from negative energy into actual physical ailments. And this is actually how a lot of cancers start. I'm learning a lot about that too. Cancers can literally just be negative energy or attitudes towards something that you carry for a long time, and eventually it turns into cancer. It could be resentment towards somebody that did you wrong years ago, and it's amazing the things you learn when you wake up, because some things just, you hear it and it clicks and you're like, that makes complete sense. And then other things, you hear it and it just like doesn't make any sense to you and you're like, people believe this? I don't understand. And that's you differentiate in your ego versus your intuition. Your intuition kicks in and it figures out, this is true and this is not true. And then your ego just like doesn't want you to believe anything. It's just like it wants you to believe lies and things that make you comfortable and things that keep you safe and in the same spot and not growing. And you learn to differentiate between those two voices in your head now. There's just so much I've learned over the last year of waking up, and I had a hard time choosing what my handle would be for my podcast episodes, because I have had I've had a peacock as a spirit animal for as long as I can remember, and my streaming handle, my YouTube, my Twitch, those are both tie-dye peacock. That's the handle that I use for when I stream video games or upload videos to YouTube. My handle for my business, because I have a Reiki and energy work business, it's also got spiritual coaching on the side. That business is called Lunar Peacock Energy Work, because so one of my messages that I got from my spirit guides about the middle of my awakening last year, a few months into it, I would say, I got a message that I was supposed to follow the moons, and then I just started getting flashes of images of moons being in my life everywhere, and I just saw how this entire time I've been following moons, because they've been popping up in all areas of my life as confirmations that I've been following them the whole time and not realizing it. I knew I had to have the word moon somewhere in my name for my business, because I was led to start this business. So Lunar Peacock just kind of felt right. And then energy work, because I work with energy. So I knew that my podcast handle had to be something with peacock in it. So I decided that peacock, awakened peacock would be perfect. My friend actually suggested it. I was going to use enlightened peacock. I had come up with enlightened peacock first. And then my friend suggested awakened peacock instead. She didn't know about the enlightened peacock idea yet. I was like, oh, well, I was thinking enlightened peacock, but I kind of, right before I started this video, I was like on the cusp of which one to use, enlightened peacock or awakened peacock, and I was leaning, I couldn't decide where to go. I was like, I like both. They both sound good. How do I know which one I'm supposed to use? And I was going to use enlightened peacock because I'd come up with it myself, and I wouldn't have felt like I was taking the idea from someone else, even though I asked them for ideas. But right at the last second, when I introduced myself, I leaned towards awakened peacock instead of enlightened peacock. But for now, I am the awakened peacock. I have to keep the peacock title going. I need an artistic name. I had a peacock art name, title, whatever. So if you guys got suggestions and you're watching the YouTube video, put them in the comments. I don't know if you can comment on the podcast, really. I'm new to this whole world. So if you can comment on the podcast, go ahead. I'm not sure if that's a thing you can even do, honestly. We're going to basically delve into a lot of different topics on this podcast that are going to relate back to things related to spirituality, conspiracy theories, my personal favorite, energy work, the cause and effect, manifesting, like all things of that nature, chakras, and like the way your mind can manipulate the world around you, like manifesting. Like basically, we're going to dive into everything of that nature. If you listen to stuff by, for examples, these are some of the people that I listen to and watch on YouTube and Spotify. Red Pill Initiation Hour on Spotify. I also watch Aubrey Marcus, Matthias DeStefan, Aaron Daughtry. Oh my gosh, there's just so many of them. Like there's like tons of people that I follow and watch. But like of that nature of stuff, that's basically what I'm going to be talking about. So some of them I will be doing by myself, but most of my podcasts and videos I am going to be with somebody and having a conversation with somebody, discussion about it. My first podcast was scheduled to be recorded tomorrow with my friend Winter, who I'm not sure if she's going to come up with a podcast handle. I guess we'll find out when we have her on the show. But we were going to do our first recording together tomorrow, and the topic was going to be ego versus intuition, how to tell the difference between the two. And unfortunately, we have to shift our schedule around because she's extremely busy this week, so we have to push it back to a different week. So I'm going to record one myself tomorrow instead, but I did not prepare for it, and I haven't picked a topic. Like, I've got a whole book full of topics I've got written down. So I'm going to go pick a different topic somewhere in my big book of ideas. So I will pick a different topic that I feel comfortable about discussing without a co-host here to bounce ideas and stories off of. And then the second one that I upload is going to be with Winter. So I'm also going to hopefully be having a few other people on for interviews as well, and discussions. There's some topics that I feel very strongly about and I'm very interested in learning more about that I'm not myself very educated in. So one of which would be cannabis use. Also want to discuss plant medicine use. But there's going to be so many ideas. Every time I think I've got all the ideas on paper, I have another epiphany and a bunch more ideas come to my head and I have to write more down, and like they're endless. They keep coming. So I'm really excited for this. I know there's like a lot of other people who do podcasts and YouTube videos about these same topics, and that was part of the reason I hadn't started this yet. And even though we're all talking about basically the same thing, we all have our own personal journey. We all have our personal stories that the other ones don't have. So even though I have the same belief patterns and thought processes and basic understanding of the world that all these others do, they don't have my story. They don't have my life history. They don't have my experiences to confirm these things. So yeah, like I got to put my story and my experiences out there. And that's why I want to invite my friends on the show to interview with me, so that they can put their experiences and their stories out there too. So it's very fun and fascinating learning about other people's experiences that validate your own beliefs, in addition to just bond you further, honestly. And that's kind of why I chose the podcast titled Birds of a Feather. Birds of a Feather would be great because, one, my spirit animal is a bird. My location where I film my podcast, which you can't see if you're listening on Spotify or another podcast service, but where I am currently filming this podcast and YouTube video is in my she shed, and it's in the backyard of my property, and I'm in the woods. I'm in the rural woods of Maine. I'm in the middle of nowhere. And although I do have a road close by that gets kind of busy sometimes and you'll hear occasional cars go by, I am really out in the woods and I am surrounded by birds all the time. I've got bird feeders on both sides of my shed with windows, actually all sides of my shed. And like you can see, like there's a bird feeder right in my window. I can see a bird on it right now. So I'm surrounded by birds. I'm fascinated by birds. I love birds. And I just feel very close to Mother Gaia when I'm around them. They connect us. And so I feel like in my shed, I am a bird in my nest, surrounded by all the other birds. And my friend Winter, who is going to be present for quite a few of the podcasts, my main guest, I guess I would call her. Her spirit animal is a blue jay, which is also a bird. So I thought, well, how fitting, where we're both birds. And then I have another friend, Yukon, his spirit animal is an owl. and he sometimes will go by White Owl. So I was like, oh, well, if I ever have him on the podcast, he has also got a bird in his spirit animal name. So I was like, yeah, it's like birds of a feather, like totally needs to be birds of a feather because we flock together, right? So that is where birds of a feather came from. And this introductory episode became way longer than I had intended because I ramble, and I'm sorry. And you're probably going to get really, really long YouTube videos and really, really long podcasts because I ramble. And when me and Winter get together, you're going to see it firsthand that we could literally sit and talk about the same topic for 3 hours straight, which happens quite often. So there's going to be probably a lot of editing and cutting out parts because they're just too long and I can't include everything. So thank you for joining me on my introductory podcast episode. I hope that this relates to you and interests you and that you come back and watch the future episodes. If you are on a podcast streaming service like Spotify or Apple or whatever other platforms they put podcasts on, because I don't know this world yet, make sure that you keep up with following what I come out with. And I know Spotify has like the favorites button or whatever so that you can keep it on your dashboard. So do that. Yeah. If you are on YouTube, please make sure to like and follow for future podcasts. If you are listening on a podcast platform and would prefer to see our beautiful faces and see my amazing mandala backdrop behind me, which might change from time to time because I've got like 3 tapestries and I kind of want to like switch between them randomly and just switch it up a bit. So come watch us on YouTube. And like I said, it is Tie-Dye Peacock for my YouTube channel. Tie-Dye Peacock. Jasmine is my Twitch. All right, guys. Thank you so much. And namaste. Love and light.